Today we are continuing yesterday's walk on maintenance of the top of the lampposts. Don't forget your safety equipment as you'll be walking aloft. Any questions? All right, let's get started.
It's hard to move with this on, and it's annoying. Besides, I won't fall. I haven't fallen yet.
What are the key reasons this accident occurred? First, he was working in a dangerous position without using the safety belt hook. That was an unsafe act. Also, the surface he was working on was slippery. That was an unsafe condition. So what kind of good practices would prevent this accident? In this case, setting the hook and working only in safe positions would be good practices. Eliminating unsafe conditions is another good practice. The problem here is trying to understand why an accident like this was allowed to occur, when good practices like these are easy to follow. In this video, we will explain what actions should always be taken to perform good practices. Accidents occur when multiple factors coincidentally occur at the same time. In this example, a slippery surface, an unused safety belt hook, and working in an unsafe position all coincidentally occurred at the same time, leading to the accident. In order to prevent accidents like this, let's focus on the many unsafe acts and conditions that are present in this major accident. These are everyday behaviors. The responses, reactions, or actions made by a person in any situation. Behind the many unsafe acts and conditions, there is a tendency toward unsafe behaviors, becoming habits that overlook unsafe conditions and lead to unsafe acts. In order to understand this tendency towards habit forming, we need to understand the nature of the actions that we as humans take. There is a tendency in all of us to take actions that lead to an immediate and certain result, whether that final result is positive or negative. Rather than choosing to not eat the cake so that you can get an uncertain and further result of weight loss, you chose to eat the cake that gives you a certain and immediate result of satisfaction. In this case, it doesn't matter if the result is positive or negative. In the accident we have just seen, even although the worker knew the result could be negative, he chose to not use his safety belt hook because he knew the immediate result of not doing so would be greater freedom of movement. So what should we do to follow safe behaviors? There are two approaches to turning safe behaviors into habit. The first is to encourage safe behaviors, while the second is to discourage unsafe behaviors. We can further divide the approach to encouraging safe behaviors into two categories: wanting to engage in safe behavior and having to engage in safe behavior. What are the results of these two approaches? This graph shows the rate for performance using trial data about human behavioral science. Compared to settling the minimum requirement line, for the have-to-do curve, the want-to-do curve increases performance, despite leaving the actions up to individuals. It's about 4 times as effective as the have-to-do curve. In addition, the have-to-do curve will decrease performance if this enforcement doesn't exist. In other words, if there is no one to get angry, the behavior won't continue. There is a big difference between these methods. So what is the best way to encourage safe behavior as a want-to-do behavior? One way is through using natural human behavior to achieve safe practices. Let's look at an example involving the use of the safety belt hook. Prior to using the safety belt hook, the reason for attaching the hook was explained in a meeting. This is called an antecedent. In this example, after behavior is done, receiving acknowledgement from someone that the safety belt was used becomes consequence and is connected to the next action. In other words, in the previous meeting, the worker was told to use the safety belt, and this resulted in safe work. These actions are referred to as the ABC model. Here, action A, talking about the safety belt in the meeting, has an effect on action B and has a 0 to 20% influence. Now try to give positive feedback about the results of C. Action C, giving positive feedback, has an 80 to 100% influence. In other words, the influence of have to and want to were both used. Telling the worker to use a safety belt in the meeting, followed by positive feedback as soon as it is done. In this video, let's take a look at observation and feedback as a concrete method of utilizing the powerful effect of the ABC model's influence and the human characteristic of carrying out actions that offer an immediate and certain result, as explained earlier. For this, the observer provisionally decides upon a time to observe daily operations. After the observation, the observer immediately gives positive feedback to the workers based on what was observed, leading to a positive effect on future actions. In other words, rather than having to take action because it would result in disciplinary action, or because it is the rules as a have-to-do behavior, this leads to safety behaviors becoming a habit because the worker realizes it was a good idea, a want-to-do behavior, eventually leading to fewer accidents. Let's look at some key points about observation and feedback. First, about observation. Determine the observer, with all crew members being observed. Determine observation period. Find safety behaviors. Find 1 or 2 areas that require changes. Stop the work if danger is present. Now let's move on to feedback. If possible, give feedback immediately after observation. Talk about the observed actions in as much detail as possible. Discuss the potential impacts. Listen to the workers. Now let's carry out some observation and feedback related to the work from this accident. Please think as if you were the observer. Let's check the work again from the observer's point of view. For observation, it is very important to pay attention to behavior, not attitude, so leave out comments about attitude during the meeting. Now let's begin. Crewman B is properly using his safety belt hook. Crewman A is using the chain, taking preventive measures against falling. Crewman B is wiping the wet floor. Crewman A is not using his safety belt hook. Even during observation, if you determine that danger is present, stop the worker's operations and make a note of the danger.
Hey, use the hook on your belt.
Okay.
Feedback occurs immediately following observation. Talk about the actions in as much detail as possible. Ask about the reasons for unsafe behaviors and analyze the situation.
It's great that all crew member wears a safety equipment. You, Bojo, properly used the hook on his safety belt. The hooking position that you use it in was also good. And you cleaned the dirty floor as well.
Yeah.
So Mike, why didn't you hook your safety belt?
It makes the work harder when I use it.
You have a point, but there's a risk involved. By just wearing the safety belt without using the hook, it becomes annoying without any purpose. If you don't wear it properly, there's a possibility of falling due to rolling and strong winds.
Oh,
If it makes it harder to walk when you wear the safety belt, maybe you should use a lifeline too. To keep it from becoming annoying, try using a lifeline while wearing your safety belt next time.
okay.
You can also give feedback about these as well. Performed in this way, positive feedback leads to a positive result, setting the stage for future actions. This is positive feedback. Keep in mind that giving feedback with concrete examples is more effective than proper or unclear expressions.
Captain, starting the thruster now. This is means we have the alarm. Captain, sir, engine room is checking the alarm.
Roger, I'll check it out.
I know the problem, but I've got to hurry. Hurry, hurry!
What are the key reasons this accident occurred? This was obviously an unsafe act, where the switchboard panel was opened in a hurry, without any protective equipment, even although a high voltage current was flowing. So what would be good practice in this situation? First, an essential good practice is to always turn off the electricity before doing this kind of work on a switchboard. It is also a good idea to tag out or lock the switchboard so that someone cannot turn the power on during work. Now let's do some observation and feedback for similar switchboard work. To ensure the electricity is turned off, the worker is pointing and saying his behaviors. To prevent someone from accidentally turning the power on, the worker has performed the tag out procedure. You've informed everyone about your work. Let's observe the overhauling the motor. Please watch as if you were the observer. Tools have been prepared prior to starting work. Safety shoes and helmet are being worn. Let's begin feedback. For observation and feedback, it is very important to create a friendly environment, rather than one of superior and subordinate. The observer need not be an officer, but can be another person chosen depending on the situation.
Thanks for your cooperation. First of all, you properly prepare your tools and put on safety clothes beforehand. Great job.
I always try to do that.
You turn off the power off before you begin work. Then you implemented the attack out so that no one would touch anything. That is really good.
Yes.
Pay attention to certain actions and offer positive reaction in this way. This sets the stage for future actions, creating a perfect cycle of positive actions. Repeating this creates the foundation for safety.
Do other crew members know about this work?
Well, I guess from meetings.
That's great. It'd be a good idea to stress to the others not to touch the power.
Understood.
What are the key reasons this fire occurred? Of course, having flammable objects near the recklessly overloaded electrical circuit creates an unsafe condition. And leaving this condition like this is an unsafe act. So what are some good practices here? The status of electrical wiring should be checked here, whether the correct outlet is being used or not. You should regularly check for dust, check to ensure the wires aren't exposed, and make sure there aren't any other possible fire hazards. Now that you've realized some of the dangers that are present in daily life, let's do some observation and feedback from the viewpoint of planning for improvements. Now let's observe cleaning of the living area, as carried out by the messman. Please watch as if you were the observer. He is working with a clean appearance. Without worrying about anything, he leaves the recklessly overloaded electrical circuit as it is. Now let's begin our feedback. Even if there are points to improve, it is never acceptable to scold or criticize unsafe actions. Ask why those actions were taken and create a plan for improvement. Rather than creating a negative spiral, I won't do it because I'll get in trouble, aim to encourage safe behaviors through persistent positive feedback.
Thanks for your cooperation. First of all, you have a clean appearance as you handle sheets. Very good. You also checked to see if the socket was loose, and that was good. Are the sockets in the other cabin the same?
Yeah, they're all about the same.
Did you know that a fire could break out due to a tracking fire or a power overload?
I know, but there aren't enough sockets.
I see, you have a point. How about using the on-off switch? As it seems you have some devices that you aren't using.
We could probably use that.
Just in case, you might want to place flammable object away from the sockets.
I guess you're right. I'll try it.
The dangers of the unsafe axe were clearly explained and a plan was created. Through a positive approach like this, we can create a perfect cycle by utilizing the powerful effects of feedback.
Oh, there isn't enough time to let it defrost. I'm going to have to cut it.
What are the key reasons this accident occurred here? Of course, trying to use force to cut frozen meat was an unsafe act. So what are some good practices? We should wait for the meat to defrost here. It is also a good idea to wear protective gloves. Allowing time for preparations before starting the work is also a good practice. Though a routine activity, let's try to see what we can accomplish through observation and feedback. Let's observe the same work again. Safety shoes and clean clothing. The surrounding area is clean when using the knife. The observer should warn the worker as soon as he or she determines that danger is present.
It's dangerous. Stop immediately.
Let's begin feedback. While asking about the reasons behind the unsafe acts, pay attention to any previous circumstances.
Thanks for your cooperation. First of all, you wore safety shoes and clean clothes. Also, attention was paid to keeping the kitchen clean. Excellent.
Thanks.
You looked a little bit rushed. Why is that?
I started cook late, so I was rushed.
I see. When you have a little extra time, how do you cut the meat?
I cut it after waiting for the meat to defrost a little. I was rushed this time, so I was little reckless.
So you'd cut it with any problems. You will finish quickly and make up for the lost time. Punctuality is good, but getting injured because of it is not good.
I know. Even if it took time, I should have waited for the meat to defrost.
If there still isn't enough time, think of another way to make up the time.
Future measures against unsafe acts like this should be positive and should not be one-way instructions. Focusing your attention on human actions and taking a positive approach are not the only ways to deal with problems, but they are effective ways to create a culture of safety and avoid accidents. Positive feedback can be used for regular work as well. Work on regularly using this positive feedback in routine operations and strive to create a safe, positive work environment together.